My diet now that I'm maintaining, I've already competed, I have a decent amount of muscle, is focusing on the right food choices. Boom! Boom! What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, CEO, MTS Nutrition. Man, you hear it all the time. Flexible dieting, calories in, calories out. And if you are measuring everything perfectly, you might be right. 2,000 calories equals 2,000 calories for fat loss. What about long-term adherence? As someone who has done it both ways, done the diabetic exchange, done food choices, and also counted every single macro on a flexible diet, I will say personally, for me personally, for a long-term effect, long-term, knowing food choices and how to self-regulate what I eat is the best way to go about things. So you're thinking, what if we did a study on this? Well, at TigerFitness.com, we just did an article on a study that they did that I'm gonna talk about right here. Click on that link down below and read it, but I'm gonna opine on this. Let me go over this study. Dr. Christopher D. Gardner is the Director of Nutrition Studies at Stanford Prevention Research Center. A large and very expensive trial. They put a lot of money into this, right? Cost $8 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health, carried out this study on 600 people. $8 million for a study on 600 people. Wow. This study was designed to compare how overweight and obese people fare on low carbohydrate or low fat diets. Previous studies show that some are predisposed to do better on one diet over another, depending on genetics. This is why there's an influx of companies who want to tailor a meal plan based on your genotypes or your body type. There were two groups made. One was the healthy low carb and the other was the healthy low fat. Both these groups attended classes with dietitians so they can learn how to prepare and eat nutrient-dense, minimally processed whole foods. Since soda, fruit juice, muffins, and white bread are all low in fat, the low-fat group had to opt for things because it's healthy carbs, like brown rice, barley, steel-cut oats, lentils, lean meats, and low-fat dairy products. Quinoa, fresh fruit, and legumes were also eaten. Low-carb group ate nutritious foods like almond, olive oil, salmon, and grass-fed, pasture-raised animals. The thing is, they all lost weight. They all lost a considerable amount of weight. We also found is that whole thing, like my body doesn't process carbs well, also debunked in the study. Whether someone was great at handling carbs, had a different body type, whatever, there was no difference shown between the different genotypes, phenotypes, or body types, or metabolic types. Basically, fat loss was the same. And what this study showed is that if you make healthy food choice, you have a healthy relationship with food, that you are going to do better on a long-term diet plan. Now, let me explain my thoughts on this. If you're trying to lose fat to get ready for a show, a competition, whatever, then you know what? You can do it. You can throw in your cheat foods, your Pop-Tarts, this and that. And this also shows that some flexible dieters just have it all wrong and some have it really right. The ones who do it right eat 90% of their diet, if not maybe a little bit less, 80 to 90%. In the healthy food range, this being lean meats or healthy fatty meats. You know, fatty meats can fit their macros. The thing they do is they calorically control things, but they're measuring every single macro. Now, I hated that way of dieting. I did not like macro counting because what it did, it forced me to go to restaurants, bring a scale with me, or eyeball, which was extremely inaccurate. My calories were still all over the place, so it had me weighing out my food at home and being even more restricted than when I actually went out and just ate like a bro. What I find works better for me is something called the Diabetic Exchange. I outline that in my book, dropfactorbook.com. That's dropfactorbook.com. For those of you bulking, I have a book called massdiet.com, massdiet.com. And what those do is they use a Diabetic Exchange. What that is, the Diabetic Exchange, is you count protein sources as protein. So basically, I believe it's 15 grams of protein equals a serving, okay? I'm sorry, 7 grams per ounce. 7 grams of protein per ounce. All right? So let's say you have 2 ounces of chicken. Well, 2 ounces of chicken is 14 grams of protein. We just rounded that regardless of if it's whatever. And it's all done cooked. Because have you ever tried like cutting your food perfectly and then cooking it? Doesn't always work. It's hard. So everything's measured cooked as far as meats are concerned. And of course you still dry measure oatmeal and stuff, but that's kind of besides the point. The bottom line is I always found it to be better to simply eat healthy. My diet now that I'm maintaining, I've already competed, I have a decent amount of muscle, is focusing on the right food choices. Now, what that also shows you is that we are human. And we need to have some interaction with other humans, and there is a nice response a positive response to having tasty food. So if you were to take the 80-20 or the 90-10 rule, and let's say every 2 days you have a normal meal, you have a treat or a piece of cake or a pastry or whatever, that's completely acceptable. But what this shows us is that having the right foods, having the right nutritious foods does a lot of things. They're intact. They're in their whole form. They're not processed. You take a food like a fruit juice, you strip out all the fiber, all the chewing, all whatever, you have a ton of calories in a very concentrated form. To get in the amount of calories that you could drink a gallon of fruit juice right now, put yourself into a diabetic coma. You can't do that with apples. You can't eat that many apples. You just can't. So what eating whole natural foods forces us to do is it forces us to utilize our body's hunger signaling. It forces us to break down the foods. It forces us to digest them, and we get all the nutrients from these foods that are broken down. I never understood why you have white bread where they take the grains and they strip them of everything and then they put synthetic back in. I can't understand why that's done. So, you know, my whole thing is, if you're dieting for a show, absolutely. You need to measure everything for long-term adherence. Developing a healthy relationship with food where you learn to enjoy healthy, whole, natural foods. You get away from the processed garbage. I think you'll be in a good spot. The one thing I've learned in all these diets, I'm doing a version of the carnivore diet now. I had to throw in some fiber because I was having issues with, well, that you can go on my vlog on youtube.com/Lobliner. On the other channel, youtube.com/Lobliner. I vlogged the whole process. You'll love it. But, you know, I've done the keto diet, I've gone vegan, I've done it all. Out of all the research I've done while doing those diets, the one commonality I find is that processed carbs fucking kill you. You know, processed junk, processed, you know, pastries and stripped down flours, you know, they have a negative reaction in the body. The body doesn't know what the fuck to do with these things. So your body releases more insulin. And I'm not saying it'll affect your fat loss negatively. This isn't an argument about if flexible dieting is just as effective as regular dieting. This is simply saying that looking at a long-term solution, find a way to incorporate whole, natural, healthy foods into your diet, form a great relationship with food, and stop the whole up and down cycle of being bulking and cutting, or getting in shape for the beach and just getting fat as fuck because you lose that motivation. Stay motivated, stay healthy. You'll feel better, you'll look better, you'll get more micronutrients in your diet from the whole foods, and you'll be in a good spot. So, of course, read this article. It's linked down below. My opinion is, you know, keep most of your diet 80 to 90% whole, natural, good foods. You have your healthy meats, you have your healthy fats, you have, and for carbs, now meats and fats, protein sources, okay, those are fine. It's mainly going to be the carb sources. So instead of the white rice, instead of the processed, instead of the all-purpose flour, instead of all this junk that is micronutrient deficient, opt for sweet potatoes, oats, barley, quinoa, or opt for carbs that are more whole, that your body knows what the fuck to do with. Anyway, guys, I'm Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. More info, link down below. That's not a game.